All right, so the name of the first text that we're going to be reading today is Four Olympic Stadiums with Unexpected Afterlives. So we're going to start out the way that we would normally start out our text, and that's by doing our reading and annotating. So, paragraph 1 says, signing on to host the Olympics is a big investment in both infrastructure and money. The 2012 and 2014 Olympics, for example, each cost upward of $16 billion. The money goes toward creating, the various facilities needed for the games. And in many instances, those buildings are ultimately left empty afterward. It costs the host city that much more in continuous maintenance and upkeep, or simply being left to decay into the landscape. So when we're trying to do our annotations, we know that we want to look and figure out what is the most important thing that is mentioned in the paragraph. And once we figure out the most important thing in the paragraph, then we put a smiley face on it. I'm going to pause here and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to identify the most important thing in this first paragraph and put a smiley face on it. So if you put a smiley face on facilities, then you were correct, because the most important thing that this is about is the facilities. So now we have to ask ourselves, well, what's happening with these facilities and why is that happening? So with these facilities, the money is being used to create them, but they're being left empty after the Olympic Games. So we're going to put an exclamation point right there. Why are they being left empty? Well, because it costs them more, and it costs the city, more to maintain the buildings than to just leave them to decay. So we're going to put our question mark at the end of that sentence. Now, we're going to use our symbols to create a hashtag, and we're going to make sure that our hashtag reflects what we have marked on our paper in terms of symbols. So when we create the hashtag, we know that our subject is the facilities because it has a smiley face on it. So I'm going to start by saying facilities. What happens with the facilities? Well, they're left empty after Olympic Games. Why? Well, because continuous maintenance and upkeep costs a lot of money. So we're going to put because it costs too much to maintain them. So now we have our first hashtag. And again, I want you to notice how our hashtag is a reflection of the symbols that we have in our paragraph. So we want to make sure that when we are reading and annotating, we are making sure that our hashtag reflects the symbols that we're putting in the text, okay? So I'm going to go on ahead and move on to the second paragraph. As I'm reading it this time, I want you to be thinking to yourself and asking yourself the question, what is the most important thing that's happening in the paragraph? Why is that thing happening? And what's the subject, okay? So I want you to think about those things as I'm reading this next paragraph. Okay, paragraph 2 says, Berlin is a perfect example of this. The city hosted the Olympics in 1936. Afterward, the Olympic Village was left to crumble in the surrounding wilderness. Recently, though, funding has been approved to turn the former athlete residences into new apartments, breathing new life into the 135-acre site. And so again, I'm going to pause here for about 30 seconds. And this time, not only are you going to be thinking about the subject, you're also going to be thinking about what is the most important thing that is happening in this paragraph. All right, so you should have put a smiley face on Olympic Village because this is the subject of this paragraph. What happened to the Olympic Village? It was left to crumble in the surrounding wilderness. And now our question is, why did it happen? Well, it doesn't quite tell us why it was left in this paragraph, but if we go back to this hashtag, we know that the main reason why these buildings are left empty is because of the cost that it takes to maintain them. So we can infer that the reason why this facility was left empty is because it costs too much to maintain. So we're going to write that in the hashtag. So we're going to put hashtag Olympic Village in Berlin left to crumble because it cost too much to maintain. And again, make sure that you note how the hashtag is a reflection of the symbols. So right here we have Olympic Village with a smiley face on it. We have that as the first thing in our hashtag. And then here it says it was left to crumble, and that appears in our hashtag as well. So make sure that your hashtags are a reflection of your symbols. I'm going to leave you to do the rest of the paragraphs by yourself. So you're going to annotate them and put symbols on them, and then you will come back and check your work.